Espresso Talk Today community, and Aquaba to the Espresso Talk Today show. Welcome to Espresso Talk Today. I'm Ama Robin, host of this great and groundbreaking podcast show. If you're just joining Espresso Talk Today, then I wish you a very happy and hearty Aquaba to the show and to the Espresso Talk Today community. Our community of amiable intellectuals welcomes everyone. We discuss everything from the happy and hopeful to the uncommon and the uncomfortable. Nothing is off the table here. In this podcast show, we are joined by Michelle Lee, who has written the groundbreaking book, Working the Roots, over 400 years of traditional African American healing. Michelle Lee's book, let me just take a minute to tell you about it. Michelle Lee's book, Working the Roots, is the result of first-hand interviews, conversations, and apprenticeships conducted and experienced by Michelle herself over several years of living and studying in the rural American South and in the West Coast regions of the United States. Michelle combines a novelist's keen ear for storytelling and dialogue and a healer's understanding of the folk medicine arts, and she puts these into a book that makes it pleasant and interesting and definitely serves as a permanent household healing guide. You're gonna love it, I promise. This is one of those times when you will be so glad that you showed up for this podcast show because this knowledge is priceless. White Western society has tried to hide and destroy it. Enslavement tried to punish it out of existence. Colonialism tried to make it illegal. And today's world, where white supremacy is just running rampant, today's world is trying to inferiorize it. But this important knowledge is still here, thanks to great people like Michelle Lee. Asante Sana for joining us today. We are a Black Empowerment podcast show. Black empowerment is Black resilience and persistence, and we are getting empowered together. Let's get right to it. I'll see you after the show. Hey, Mel.
Hi, Robin. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I am doing absolutely great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you look very happy as usual. And actually, I'm very happy too, because as you can see, I'm having an espresso with a friend. Her name is Michelle, and she's written a book, and she has some interesting knowledge that I think that you're going to want to hear about. I know I do. So,
Oh my
Michelle,
God.
this is Mel.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Mel.
So,
Hi,
yeah.
Robin.
Oh, hi. And yeah, thank you so much for meeting with me. When I read your book, when I first heard the title, I was intrigued. It's the title being "Working the Roots: Over 400 Years of Traditional African American Healing." That piqued my interest, and then I ordered it, and I've been reading it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is an amazing book. This is what we've been needing. This is what I've been looking for. So asante for writing this book.
Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.
And I'm gonna just actually start by reading a sentence from the book. I mean, you're gonna probably recognize it because you're the author. And then I want to ask you a question about it because this sentence was very powerful to me. It's from the author's introduction. African American traditional medicine, like jazz and blues, is an American classic that emerged out of the necessity of its people to survive. It's a fusion of African, Native American, European, and other healing traditions associated with the period of colonization and slavery in the United States. African American traditional healing is strong medicine. Well, yeah, I mean, just that first sentence, in the book really gave me pause to think. And I have to ask you two questions about this. But first, what motivated you to write this? What made you get up one morning and say, I have got to write this book?
Well, I feel like the ancestors and the spirits around, because I grew up in a family that acknowledged that, you know, even though the physical body is gone, they're still there. That they were just edging me on to do that. And as I was getting my education in these Western institutions and teaching on the East Coast and the Coast, originally was I'm in the art field. I was I excuse me, I'm getting a little tongue-tied.
Uh, okay.
I um I was I was reminded that a lot of people really don't know of our people, our history, our walk through life, and had a very westernized and not a depthful view of who we are and how we survived. And I thought everyone grew up with these traditions in their family. My family used these medicines often, and the community I grew up in, which in Oakland and in the South, which mostly came from Louisiana and Mississippi, used these traditions as well. And as I got on in the world, I realized that a lot of people didn't know about it, and it wasn't commonplace, or
Mhm.
they'd called it old wives' tales.
Mhm.
And it gave me pause to think, well, this is an oral tradition. And with our elders, it's passed down that way. And with each elder transitioning on to the next dimension, a little bit more is lost. And I wanted to capture it for all of us. It's a piece of American history, our history, African American history, African diasporic history, that we needed to write down because that's the era that we live in now. And I also wanted to dispel the notion that these medicines were old wives' tale. I wanted to bring to the public that there's an intellectual knowledge that came with the people who were stolen and brought to the so-called New World from Africa. And also with our indigenous brothers and sisters, there was an intellectual knowledge there as well. And so that was really the primary motivation.
Yeah, and I had another question for you. Actually, I'll ask this one first. When you have,
Okay.
and from this quote I read, you say it's strong medicine, all caps. That caught my attention. Oh, yeah. What is strong medicine? What do you mean by strong medicine?
I mean that it's the combination of the African and the resiliency of our ancestors who were able to survive colonization and enslavement, that torturous period, and the resiliency of the indigenous people who lost so much but survived. That combination together, we are there. I don't like using the word descendant. I like using the word ascendant. We're ascending because we're still here. That combination together gave us strong medicine because it's really, as I came to find out through working with the traditional healers and apprenticing and doing the field work, that it really was a combination between both. And the lines really blurred when you go to the South or you go to the Eastern Seaboard, all along from Connecticut, Rhode Island, all the way down to Florida, that the bloodlines mix, like Crispus Attucks. He's Natick, and I was raised in the Natick reservation, and Attucks means deer in Natick,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh,
And someone like George Crumb, who's from northern, his mother was, I forget what tribe she was from in northern New York, and his father was African, and he's the founder of the potato chip.
yes, right.
You
Yeah.
know, so we have this blended, ancestry that makes it very, very strong.
Okay, I see. I like that resiliency and yeah, I love the term about being ascendant too.
Hmm.
I have one more question about this. Was there some, well, when I think about the African traditional healing methods, I think of how much was stripped from us, was taken from us, was stolen from us. Then it's been, even more modern times, been thought of in a pejorative sense, like old wives' tales, or that this isn't real. And was there any kind of, I don't know if anger is the right word, obstinacy or feeling that, wow, this was taken from us and we've got to keep this. We've got to make sure that we don't forget this. It was almost an act of resistance on or activism on your part.
Um, not consciously like that,
Mhm.
because I know that this era that we're in with Western domination, particularly in the United States, they're not thinking about us in any kind of way, and they would like to just have us absolved into the greater, pharmaceutical structure, which is what happened when a lot of people moved up north. They left those traditions behind, and it's very hard to fight big pharma and all of the commercials and this whole push that this type of Western corporate medicine is the best. I haven't I don't think about that anymore. That's not my concern. My concern is preserving our history and our tradition for us and not having the expectations that they will do right, that, the they in quotes at all. It's really about us being able to pass these traditions down to our community, keeping it strong and tight, because here in America, being you have terms such as foundational African Americans, you have indigenous African Americans, you have Afro-Indigenous people. We're now kind of looking at these terminologies of who we are. Um, Many of us have several generations, in this country going back to the 1600s, which was very different from just homogenizing all people of African descent throughout the African diaspora who might have come in the 80s from the Caribbean islands, or, in the 90s or 2000s from Africa, or other areas, been able to come and uh, live, excel, thankfully because of civil rights and the gains that were made. So
Mhm.
our position here is very, very different. And I think the greater superstructure would like to just lump us all into one category. Well, the common denominator is that we are part of the African diaspora. The common denominator for all humans is that we can all trace our DNA back to the Khoisan people in Southern Africa, the
Oh,
oldest DNA,
mhm.
you
Okay.
know. So it's about, I feel like we are becoming, I don't want to say extinct, but or maybe I don't want to say extinct. But it's also a mindset, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I think people more of my generation, I'm a baby boomer, and your mother's generation also, I'm sure, really stand strong in knowing that we are what African American means in this country, what Black means, what Negro means, and our struggle here. So I'm concerned about, long-winded answer again, preserving all of that. And this piece is a piece of preserving that and expanding our knowledge and putting it in a context where we can look at it and appreciate it on a level that is like traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine,
Mhm.
other indigenous medicines.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, but yeah, Ayurvedic. Yeah. Hmm. Now, uh, I mean, that sounds like a huge thing, a huge journey. How do you even begin? What's the first step? Yeah. How did you start this?
The first step, and the journey is an evolution. So now that it took me 22 years to write and complete it, not to write it, but the whole process. So now that I'm at this point, I can look back and kind of, and we're at this point socially and politically in our country and in the world, you can look back and you make these connections. Well, the first step was really starting with my own family, who are all from Louisiana and Mississippi and Virginia. And
Okay.
then at the time, I was married to a wonderful man named Leon Dockery. I'm married to him for 17 years, and we have two beautiful children. And he recently transitioned. So now he's an ancestor in the spirit world. I started with his family, who are all from North Carolina, Scotland County, North Carolina. Um, and that was just the wealth of information. And then one person, my whole process was, well, thank you. Do you know anyone else who would like to talk with me? And everybody did. And yes,
Yeah, it's really interesting, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. How did you choose the people to interview? Was it, and they were in North Carolina for sure, but how did you, and they were part of your family, did they just lead you to different people who were healers in the community? And how did that
that's
work?
right. That's how it was. I had no, like, that was my game plan. That was it. And I just turned it over to the divine universe, the ancestors, whatever kind of trajectory, divine trajectory I was going towards. Um, I just that led me. If I only had one person, no one declined an interview. There is one person who did not want me to put the interview in the book, and that was someone from the Gullah Geechee Nation, because they are also fighting for their awareness and survival. Um, and I honored that, but nonetheless, they still talked to me and gave me a wealth of, information, and I'm so honored and grateful for that. But that was my method.
So was there a community of healers, or just one person suggested, oh, this person also would be good to talk to, and this person would, is that how you did it, or?
That's how I did it because at the time, I actually started in the early 90s. At the time, there wasn't this a real emergence of identifying African American healing tradition like there is now. Now you have communities of healers that who are not only standing strong in our traditions and the medicines from the South and the Eastern Seaboard, which our ancestors use, but they are also pulling from different traditions, Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, Mayan,
Okay.
because we have that at our fingertips now. We live in a global society. So that was it. I had no timeline on it. I just knew that I needed to document this tradition and to preserve it. I had a tape recorder, um, and a Mamiya Secor 35 millimeter camera.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
I,
remember those.
yeah, I remember I went to the San Francisco Art Institute for 2.5 years, and that's where I met my former husband. And I took up wonderful photography classes with Perkle Jones, who did the book on Black Panthers.
Mhm.
And I, really just had it. I romanticized that I'm going to take this journey similar like Zora Neale Hurston had in the South, reconnecting to my roots and going back in the bush with the people and documenting the tradition. And I'll have my camera and my black and white film, and it'll be beautiful. And then I'll go into the studio and I'll develop all of my own photographs, right? Well, by the time I finished the digital photograph, and that whole movement was so prevalent, and people were not necessarily going into the studios anymore, the photography studios developing studios to develop their prints. And we're very conscious about those chemicals you use being very toxic, for
Mhm.
number one. And number two, the time that it takes, right?
Yeah.
So it was like miraculously the globe has everything sped up, right? So I decided by the time I was at the point of, okay, well, now I need to organize all of this photographic work. I still have the film, original film downstairs, the negatives in my garage. I got a one of those machines that you can put your negatives in,
Mhm.
and it will transfer it to a digital format,
Yeah, right.
which made it so much quicker.
Oh, yes.
So you've hit at one of my my pet projects. I mean, I've been a photographer all of my life, and I know about the developer, the stop and the fix, and how to develop film and pictures and all that. And I agree with you. Now in a digital age, it's a whole different story. I love the black and white. I really do. When you talk to people about this, did they wonder why are you asking this, or why are you so curious about this, or did they jump in and say, "I'm glad somebody, is going to document, what I can do and what I can tell them about, how to heal themselves, or stay healthy."
Yeah, it was the latter. Everyone was just, I'm glad you're doing this because when we die, the medicine and knowledge goes with you. So they were very happy and that they wanted the young people to continue using this tradition. But they would all say, my children, my grandchildren don't want to do this anymore, and they would also say that the medicines are hard to find now because they're being over harvested, or because of development. It's just kind of paving the way over these indigenous grounds where the medicines would grow. They would just grow naturally, and you can go out in the field and pick them.
Mhm. Well, it's really interesting going back in my own history and my grandmother and her mother in the was an enslaved person, and she was the person who was the doctor, for the enslaved people in the community. And a lot of the things that she learned from her mother, she didn't teach us, but she used with us. And reading your book, I was really kind of brought back to that, I guess that situation where, when we had something, anything, she would have an answer for it. She would have a remedy for it. And I don't remember seeing a doctor until I was 16. And that was
Mhm.
only because I needed a paper to go to the university. That's why I had to see the doctor. But I think that, can you tell me some of the preventive type care methods that you talk about in your book? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm glad you did not go to a doctor until you were 16. Many had shared the same story that, really it wasn't until they got pregnant or either they moved up to the city, and then they had to go to the doctor. That was just what it was. But one thing that people really stressed was preventative care. Take care of your body and do the things you need to do so that you don't get sick because people didn't have time to get sick. There weren't a lot of these safeguards that we have now in society um, to buffer people if they lost their job or, if they got sick. There was no like sick leave or workers' compensation insurance and things like that. So they took very good care of themselves. Their food was basically, a lot of people had their own gardens, which were organic, in a tradition of George Washington Carver and all of the permaculture advances that, he made with not using pesticides and fertilizers, but using nitrogen-rich crops and rotating fields and, other things to make sure that you have a rich and bountiful harvest and then eating it and sharing it with the community. They weren't necessarily so much on a vibe of, let me grow this so I can make money. Let me grow this so that I can take care of my community. And I know they're getting healthy food. There was a lot of sharing of the crops, whether you had money or not. Um, a lot of people felt like George Washington Carver that the key to health starts in your gut. So
Hmm.
what you eat becomes medicine, and how you eat it becomes medicine. So they grew their own or raised their own livestock. One woman, Miss Dot, said, "I'm only going to eat meat that I know that what has been put in it because I've raised it, and that's the only meat she's going to eat." And that way, you know that the animal has been raised to an age of maturity where they can use it for food and not so quickly. It has not been filled with a bunch of hormones and other additives to make it grow up fast. That was just really absurd to a lot of people. Like you raise a chicken, and you slaughter it at 6 weeks. They had never heard of anything like that. And it sounds ridiculous to me. Um, and also they ate lots of legumes, vegetables, not a whole lot of meat, fish, squirrel,
Okay.
more wild animals, and not overeating also. People weren't overeating. Um, I My former husband, Leon Dockery, said he grew up in rural North Carolina. He said meat was a luxury to them, and they had a lot of beans and they did their own fishing. And going to the town of Laurinburg to get a hot dog was another luxury. That was like a big, big thing. It was, hot dogs were new. So, that was they ate well. The other thing is that they took seasonal medicine. So they knew in the changing of the seasons that right before winter was to come, they would take a particular type of tea, such as like a lot of people in the South say sassafras, but it's actually sassafras tea, you know, and yellow root, which is actually golden seal. Um, pine, which has, and all of these medicines have a lot of wonderful properties to keep us healthy and to build up our immunity. And that's one of the reasons why I created the medical reference section in the back of the book for medicines, breaking down what their curative properties are, and then what you would also take for certain ailments. One very standard that everyone talked about, and they did, and kept them healthy. And once they stopped, all kinds of problems came up. It's taking cod liver oil.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I took that every day.
Yeah,
Yes, you took that every day. And did
Every
you get sick?
No. As I
No,
said,
you
I didn't
did
see a
not.
doctor until I was 16, and that was only because
Yeah.
I was going to the university and I need a paper documentation that I was healthy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So cod liver oil is one of those superfoods that keeps us healthy. And I'm turning to the page here because it's in my book. It's in the page in the medicines page.
Mhm,
It's right before coon root and comfrey root.
mhm,
Uh, so cod liver oil is for preventative and general health maintenance. Its properties are anti-inflammatory, immune booster, and it lubricates the joints. Cod
mm.
liver oil is rich with omega-3s and considered one of the superfoods because it is one of the most concentrated food sources for human health. Um, it's also used a lot for mental health, prevention of depression and other mental health disorders. Taking regular doses of cod liver oil was a wise holistic health maintenance routine that may have strengthened immunity, thereby maintaining overall good health and preventing colds, flu, and chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, and arthritis. Now, one of the most interesting things, there's a whole section on here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. One of the most interesting preventatives that cod liver oil was responsible for, I think, that I found was prostate cancer and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar disorder, cognitive decline, depression, and schizophrenia. So I'm not a doctor, but we all know that the rise in autism and other mental health disorders are probably environmental and many other factors. But I can tell you this, when folks came up north and they stopped, and even down south, you find very few people who take cod liver oil daily now. And a lot of these health conditions that are now very chronic and so prevalent in our society weren't there before. And I'm wondering, is there some kind of connection
Mhm.
between stopping this, which is a superfood, because then also, when you're pregnant, you pass on your immunity and all of this strength to your children. I mean, all of this is captured in our DNA and our genetic memory. So if you stop taking it, then it's a kind of generational effect that goes forward.
That's
Okay.
amazing because we didn't have a choice. It was just come time for your cod liver oil every morning.
Yes,
That's just
yes,
but no one explained to us, the value of that. It's just something that we did. And now having read your book, I see the value of that. And that probably, prevented a lot of illnesses that people now find, very, very common. The other thing you mentioned that I thought was really interesting, like it's the way they treated the plants and the animals. It almost sounds like the organic, what we call now organic, vegetarian, and vegan.
yes,
We
yep,
have different names for it, but it's what you're talking about.
yes, exactly, exactly. Now there's labels for it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Hmm.
amazing. That's amazing.
Well, Mel, let me ask you a question actually, because you took cod liver oil, and do you still take it, or if not, why did you stop?
No, I don't take it. I'm thinking about taking it after having read this book
Yeah.
again. But yeah, it didn't seem to be the same cod liver oil that I took when I was younger. It's something different about it. I don't know if
Hmm.
you have any information on that, Michelle, or
Well,
is it
I don't.
or
I have anecdotal information. I don't have, but I agree with you. A lot of it, I feel the same way. A lot of the cod liver oil and other medicines are now made in factories or labs or processed that way. The pollution in the oceans now are it's chronic and it's terrible. I mean, everything is polluted now. So I don't take cod liver oil. I take flax oil, which is rich in omega 3s. you know um I do have cod liver oil here, but it's I'm glad you brought that up about it being different now, because in the book also I talk about the routine of taking chalk or clay uh, for health maintenance, which is an African tradition that was brought here. That now everybody in the South, a lot of the folks in the Black or indigenous communities take that, and you would have clay mounds, and people would go to the clay mounds that they knew were safe, and they would go eat it
Mhm.
um, seasonally, and or, 3, 4 times a year, and that actually pulls out heavy metals and toxins from your system. It detoxifies your body. Or you would make the little clay patties, like in Mississippi and Alabama, where you have the red clay, and it's also done in Haiti. And the red clay patties, you bake them, and then people would eat them. Just they're small, about a little bit larger than a quarter size,
Mhm.
because you don't want to do it too much. But
Mhm.
that's a part of a health maintenance routine that we have to detoxify our bodies now because there's so much pollution. Well, I wouldn't go to any place on this planet now to eat the dirt, from the clay. When I was growing up, I remember how rich the mud used to smell. And I loved eating it as a child. I used to make mud pies.
Mhm.
So, but I get that my clay, it's called bentonite. It's used in a lot of colon cleansing regimens now. Bentonite is the same thing as the chalk or clay that our people used to eat on a regular basis to stay healthy. So I get it. So I make sure it's safe, that it's not toxic like that. And I'll take a couple of tablespoons, maybe once every 2, 3 months, just to pull all of the pollutants out of my body, many pollutants that are in the air. I live in East Oakland, California, and there's a lot of pollution out here.
Do you have find any difficulty finding these products?
No, I have a go-to place if I have to order my herbs from somewhere. I like to go to Mountain Rose Herbs. I think that they're an organic place in Oregon, and
Mhm.
it's excellent quality. I've gone to, and they have some medicines that other places won't have if you go into the store to get them, like poke. I love the poke plant. A lot of people are afraid of poke.
Mhm.
Poke root, poke berry.
Mhm.
I haven't heard of that. No.
Well, that song, and Mel, you might remember the song by I think it was Johnny Cash, Poke Root Annie, or Poke.
I don't recall it, but I'm sure I've heard it. Mhm.
Well, poke root, and I have it right here. The berries, I harvest the berries and I freeze them
Mhm.
because the old folks it has so many beautiful uses. The old folks would call it, they would use it for arthritis and rheumatism, and
Mhm.
they would make pokeberry wine. Uh, the Wiccan community would use pokeberry ink for writing their spells.
Mhm.
Civil War soldiers um, would write most of their letters in the dye of the pokeberry. It's this beautiful, rich magenta color. Um, then our indigenous brothers and sisters would use it medicinally and also use it to decorate their horses and their face. The root is called cancer root,
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
and I've made poke root salve, and it helps to clean out your lymphatic system and mastitis and cysts for women. I've used it before. I've given it to other people, and it has reduced and made mysterious growths disappear. I've used it on humans, or let me just say, I've suggested its use on humans and on animals,
Oh, okay.
dogs. So that's it's a very powerful plant. You have to be careful in how you use it. Western medicine and doctors say it's poisonous. Well, anything is poisonous if you use it the wrong way.
That's right.
The berries are toxic to mammals, but birds eat them and animals eat them all the time. The seed is very hard. It very hard to crack, so mammals just poop it out
Mhm.
in their poop. Um, People who take pokeberry for their arthritis, rheumatism, they'll swallow anywhere from 3 to 7 pokeberries. They don't chew it, you would swallow it. Three is safe to take on. I am suggesting this. I'm not a doctor. I'm saying this. And I have done it, and I provide pokeberries for several family members who have aches and pains and who swear that that it helps them. You would just swallow it, and it's regular maintenance.
Wow.
When you held them up, they look like elderberries. Is it the right
Yes,
color?
they do look like elderberries. And so the root is called cancer root. The poke berries are for arthritis and rheumatism. The poke root also recently has been looked at for prostate cancer.
Mhm.
You can make it in a tincture form or a salve form. So Mountain Rose Herbs, I can get the poke there. A
Mhm.
lot of places aren't going to sell it. And then the other part of the poke plant is the leaves. The leaves were called the poor man's greens
Oh.
because if you didn't have greens around them, it grows. Poke is a weed that grows wild, like fennel, like dandelion, right? That people want to get rid of, but those strong weed plants are good medicine because they keep on coming up through all of this. That should tell you how strong they are. Don't get rid of them for the decorative plants.
Mhm.
So the leaves were used when you didn't have any other greens to eat, but they have, I think, phytolactin in them or something in them where it will make it toxic, and it makes you have the runs. So
Mhm.
you have to blanch it once, throw off the water. you can blanch it a second time, or you can cook them like regular greens and then eat them.
Mm.
So poke salad, they call, oh, not poke root Annie, but poke salad Annie. Have you ever heard of that song?
I haven't.
Oh,
Don't recall it, but I'm writing it down.
Yeah. So let me tell you something else about this plant. So the berries on the poke plant are used, are the dye from the berries are put on fiber-based solar panels because it helps them to absorb more sun energy.
Oh, interesting.
This
yeah.
is I call this the Jedi of the plant world. It's one of my favorite plants.
It sounds like it. Oh my gosh, like a Jedi. Oh, it's
So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Poke? Is this poke?
Poke.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Poke.
I'm gonna look this up. Yeah,
Yes.
exciting.
Well, some of the preventive, care methods and oils and salves and liquids that you've used, are some of those referenced in your manual? If I wanted to look up something, like if I wanted to look up, what should I take every day? Is that like there,
It
like cod
it
liver oil?
is.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the section there's a section on preventive health care,
Okay.
general health maintenance.
Okay.
And folks also did apple cider vinegar
Yes.
regularly.
Mhm.
Granny used to take it when to cut the mucus
Yes, I remember
and
that.
or to make clabber,
Mhm.
right? Sour milk, which has like the healthy probiotics in it. You let the buttermilk go sour or the milk go sour, right? Intentionally, and then you can put a little cornbread in it.
Mhm.
That sounds good. Oh, yeah. So, and it's a probiotic. And
Yes, it's a probiotic. Yep. And castor oil was used. Castor oil has so many powerful um, uh, properties other than to give it to you to cleanse your bowels out. And when you're sick, it's also helps to clean the lymphatic system. It is an analgesic, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and antiviral.
wow.
I remember taking castor oil, and I do remember that I could get well just knowing that I was going to have to take it.
Right, exactly, right, right. Well,
Yeah.
the leaves in the South, in Louisiana and Mississippi, the big castor leaves were used to wrap around people to pull the fever from them.
Yes.
Also, and when the leaves would get parched, then they'd take those off and they put some fresh ones on.
Now these are amazing remedies. I mean, and if we go to your book, a lot of these are explained in there in a way that we can actually do it ourselves.
Exactly. It's explained. I think I have the OCD gene. So like it's there's it if you go into this section of preventative health care, you go to castor oil,
Mhm.
it tells you its medicinal properties, its health benefits, preparation and application, and dosage for prevention. Now, in other sections, you can find castor oil also, and particularly for women, and how it's used for, again, mastitis or for lymphatic cleansing. You can use castor oil packs on your abdomen, and it helps to clean your blood and lymphatic cleansing. It's all throughout the book. And also for skin conditions, hemorrhoids, intestinal worms, respiratory ailments.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it tells you all throughout the book how to prepare. And in fact, I think there is a section, prescriptions for healthy living.
Oh,
It's broken down into medicines, ailments, and their remedies, and
Oh,
hoodoo, conjuring. So the first section in chapter 5 is preventive health care. Chapter 6, the ailments and their remedies. So if you go to like the ailments and their remedies, let's say you have I'll just turn to headaches and migraines.
Oh,
What all of the medicines that people use that I was able to capture and learn from are would be under headaches and migraines. What would be used for that? And then how to make it as a poultice or a tea or any other or a salve. It tells you exactly how to do that. And then I know that there's a section in here. It's in the, let's see, chapter 8 is the medicines. It does tell you how to let's say if have you heard of asafoetida?
I remember calling my grandmother when my daughter was a baby saying she has this problem. She says, I'll send you some aspidity. And she
Yes,
said, I don't know what it is, but she's going to take it. And it cured her problem.
such
Yep.
strong medicine. So let me give you the provenance, the history on asafoetida. It was said aspidity, astaphidity, asafoetida, astaphis, acidity. And it's actually asafoetida, which is an Ayurvedic herb. And came to find out through just the process of talking to people, and I was talking to some Ayurvedic healers, and they said, well, when they took a lot of indentured servants to the islands from India, who were also enslaved and indentured, they brought medicines too, and they brought asafoetida, which then from there came to the South, right? And started being used there as well during the time of enslavement and colonization. And they call it asafoetida, astaphis. So the name got changed a little bit, but that was its root from India, to the Caribbean to the South. And it looked the same and they made it the same way. So then if you go under asafoetida, um, it tells you what it is. It's a tea. It tells you how to make it as a tea, how to cook with it, a poultice, a salve, a tincture, or a tonic.
okay.
So all of these different applications.
And do they all work, I mean, equally the same, or would you use different things for, different, I mean,
You
is
would use
more
different
concentrated
things.
or? Uh-huh.
Yes, I would use different things for different ailments. Like a salve would be something that you put topically on your skin. A tea is you would ingest it. Tincture is different, tonic is different.
Okay. Okay. This is so, this is incredibly interesting. And my guests know that I have migraines, so I'm definitely going to
Look that up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to this section here, headaches and migraines. And I've made some migraine solutions for people before. So they have bay leaf tea. And my grandmother, Mary Tasser from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, she also used to make costumes for Mardi Gras back in the day. And that was like a whole year-long thing.
Mhm.
So she would not only put a bay leaf on her forehead, my grandmother said, but also she'd make a cup of dried bay leaf tea, or if you're using fresh, you would use 2 bay leaves and hot water, and she'd cover and steep for 10 to 15 minutes. And then she'd drink 3 cups daily to treat her headaches and migraine. And you can add, so also you can add turmeric, which is anti-inflammatory, and tea, and
Oh, fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
a bay leaf on the forehead too. See, I can do that. Do
flaxseed,
that in 10 minutes.
vinegar, yellow root, and where our bodies are all so different. So you have to find out, just like at, the doctors, what's going to work for your body. It's my belief, and I pretty much stick to the medicines that were on the land where my people have come from generationally, because I think that there's a connection and relationship there. We ate from the lands, from the land, we took care of the land, it took care of us. And so that medicine's in our DNA. And also, you know, like I had an interview from one woman who said that they used to preserve they didn't call it after birth, they call it before birth, because it was the material that came before they came to earth plane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they would take it and jar it and put the names on it, and they would also use it as a type of fertilizer or nutrient to feed the soil, and particularly certain medicines that were around. So there was this relationship, symbiotic relationship that had been there for generations,
Mm.
when we could talk to the plants and they would talk back to us.
Amazing.
In an easier, in a way that we could understand, probably not with language, but they took care of them. And so I believe that those are the medicines that are good for our body.
There's one, I definitely want more information on this, but I do have to ask about the importance of prayer and spirituality in health and healing. So I
Mm-hmm.
know you do bring this up many times throughout the book about, ancestors and yeah, and about there's some prayers in here, for certain ailments too. And how important is that? And I have a feeling that that's something that Western society probably doesn't value as much. And certainly my doctors never talked about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, how important is it? And how do you use it?
It's it's just as important as taking these physical medicines, because we are spiritual beings in a shell. And this is a 3D reality. And this is the reality it is here, and our essence is connected to everything that is divine. This is my belief. Other people may not believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, an energy that we can tap into, that taps into us, that's just universal. And the power of our thoughts and our minds and our prayers and our intentions have vibrations. This is, been proven through different theories within physics, and the chaos theory or the quarks. If you look at the smallest known material, it has a certain set of properties that people who study that science will adhere to. But when you turn your head away, it becomes all chaotic. It's not predictable. But then when you look at it, it goes back to that certain set of properties that we here on Earth plane, have written up and we can relate to. And it follows that trajectory. And then you turn your head away, and then it's something else.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of us, are we, I feel that there's a veil, that there's different dimensions. How much of us being here on earth plane and looking at something and our intentions create that reality? You
Mm-hmm.
know, I might be veering off into other areas. So prayer acts the same way. I think that it I think that when it's time for us to leave this dimension, earth plane, our earth journey here, that's just the time.
Mm-hmm.
That our shells are um, like a car, right? And that it's just a body, and it's finely tuned, with almost 70% water and other, essential magnesium and minerals and other things like that, and has sensations in it. But when it's time to go, it's time to go,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we're still connected to the divine. It's like when someone, and I've transitioned a couple of family members, um, elders who, and had the pleasure of seeing them take their last breath. Well, when it's time for them to go, when their spirit has left the body, right? Then the
Mm-hmm.
body's on automatic pilot, and it just gradually continues to just stop, and the space in between each breath becomes wider and wider. It's like you pulled the plug, right? And now the spirit's gone, but the body is just gradually shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever spiritual belief someone feels comfortable with, you know, is what's good. Whatever rings true in your heart. I
Mhm.
personally, I've been through the journey of Christianity. I value that. I've been through the journey of on the periphery of the Afro diasporic traditions of Ifa, and voodoo. I completely value that. It takes a lot of commitment that I don't have. I've been through the journey of understanding and experiencing some of my indigenous traditions in the Southeast. I completely value that. I love the label of the animus, like the Khoisan of Southern Africa, and understanding that I'm going to move the best way I can and in harmony with nature and all of life, and everything is alive.
Mm.
Everything is alive, and I respect everything, and I'm not above any other life. I want
Mm.
to work in harmony with it and the seasons and the cycles of the moon and the waters and the mountains.
So
So,
yeah, so what do you do to connect with that? I mean, do you walk in nature? Do you do I mean, we just had the equinox, do you do
yes.
something for that or yeah,
Um,
meditation?
I pretty much just walk in nature. I go to nature a lot. I have places where I can go, and I've stayed off grid in nature for a month or more. Um, and and sometimes I'll go to ceremonies, with different people. I do a variety of different things. So when I feel a need to do something, I will do it. Um, so like for example, my former husband and my father of my children just transitioned yesterday, early morning. He was a magnificent, spirit and person, and we're all grieving. It's been a huge loss, and I reached out to a friend, Louisa Tish, who's in the Ifa community. She's an Oshun priestess. She's my elder. She's from Louisiana originally, and and Leon loved Ogun, the Orisha, right? She said, Michelle, burn the tea candles 9 days straight. Burn one candle for 9 days straight, and prayer and meditate that he has a good journey, and the transition is smooth, and and that also we here can transition to this physical loss.
Mm.
That's what I'm going to do.
It's
Okay.
amazing. That's very, very valuable. When you were talking to the healers and the elders about this, were they surprised that you were interested?
A little bit,
Mhm.
and happy and surprised, and so many of them lived very rurally down dirt roads, like Miss Sally McLeod. When
Mhm.
she didn't have heat in her house, she still had a wood burning stove.
Mhm.
She was way, way out in the country. And when I put the tape recorder on her table, a little square tape recorder, it was just a small one because I didn't want it to be cumbersome or anything. And she said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a tape recorder." And I told her what it was for. And then we talked about my camera. So, it it was just very wonderful that she didn't know what a tape recorder was.
Right. Wow. And that she was so open to talking about this too.
Oh
And
yeah, we had lots of conversations. She wanted some yellow root. She was trying to find some yellow root, and because of the development, and then people understood that yellow root is also golden seal.
Mhm.
They were over harvesting it in her favorite places. So
Um,
I went on this journey, and I go out, and she was older, so she couldn't come out, and she could walk, but it was just too much for her to go to these places. I'd go on these journeys to try to find her some yellow root. Finally, I found it deep in the bush with Eddie Nelson. We went through that bush for about, I'd say, hour and a half, deep swamp, South Carolina bush. It was pretty amazing.
wow.
Yeah. Yes. I was afraid I was going to get bit by a water moccasin, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. But you were thinking about it too. Okay, so good.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, he was ahead of me. He had a machete and he had his rifle. And
Oh,
wherever he put his foot, I put my foot exactly in the same spot.
hmm. So what's the most valuable lesson you learned from having, had this experience with the healers and the elders and over that period of time? What have you congealed out of that?
Just such a deep appreciation for who we are and our ingenuity and how we survived and we continue to survive, through that time, what they went through, which was so difficult. I constantly if I try to complain or say this is hard, I take myself back to that time and say, no, that was hard,
Mhm.
you know, and just to have the perseverance, the resiliency, and the respect for them, and really I want to, it's time for us to hold all of this in a place where we can preserve it and continue to share it for those who come after us and for now. That's one of my greatest fears is that not a fear, but I don't want the younger generation and other people to forget who
Yeah.
we are and what we did and our ingenuity, and particularly here in America with, people like DeSantis in Florida. They want to, I read something recently where they want to talk about Rosa Parks without talking about her race.
Mhm. That's
And
ridiculous.
by the way, Mel, you kind of look like Rosa Parks yourself. Very pretty.
That's a very nice compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't want I want people to know who we are, which is another reason why I put it down in words,
Mhm.
so that the spoken word is here and we can continue on from there.
Was there any information or materials that you found that you were going to put in the book and then decided for whatever reason you weren't going to, that maybe you thought Big Pharma's going to come after you or something, or that maybe you felt people wouldn't know how to use it correctly and could end up doing some damage or something like that? Yeah, was there something that you decided not to put in the book? Was
There there I had to word things very carefully, so I am not a doctor, and educational purposes only, a suggestion. I advocate very strongly that each person needs to do what's right for their body and build that relationship with their health and their body the same way that you build a relationship with your life partner,
Mhm.
you know. And so the only thing, there's nothing. Oh no, there are two things. So then one of the elders I worked with gave me a prayer and a affirmation for talking the fire out if somebody gets burned.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I think told you I interviewed uh, an elder from St. Helena Sea Island and had a relationship there with the family. And they did not want her interview in the book, and that her information, they said, was strictly for me because I was on this journey. So
Mhm.
while it is a really rich and beautiful, lots of information and interview. I honored them, but I was able to work around it by putting some information in there that's kind of generic.
Okay.
So that's the only one that I still have.
Hmm.
You know,
When I mention something of voodoo, my son says, "Oh my gosh, don't even get close to that. Stay away." That's he's seen the movies. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, is that something to be really terrified of?
Not at all. So the way it has been explained to me, and I'm going in the section here because there is I have a couple of glossaries, glossary of medicinal terms in the back,
Mhm.
and then a glossary of cultural terms.
Mhm.
So under V, you'll have voodoo, voodoo, voodoo. And it says a religious practice that originated from enslaved West Africans of the Fon and Utah tribes from Dahomey in what is now present-day Benin. Voodoo took root in Haiti and New Orleans, the infusion of traditional African beliefs with Catholicism that came to be called by the name voodoo. Voodoo dun means power, that who is invisible, the creator of all things, much like God, love.
Mm-hmm.
And those people that I know who are practitioners, they say all it means is love. It's like ashe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what they also said, okay, so let me continue. Voodoo practitioners believe in an omnipresent creator and the Loa or Orishas who act as intermediaries like the saints in Catholicism between the creator and the human world. The misconception that voodoo is associated with zombies or Satanism has been spread by Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what a practitioner told me was that, let's take ourselves back to that time when we were being ripped from the homeland and put in these terrible, terroristic, horrific conditions, and what powers do we have to fight that? So you have, they conjured up those powerful aspects of the Orishas to fight their oppressors. So like you hear Eshu or Legba, Papa Legba quite a bit, who has different manifestations. I think 21 different manifestations that can be used for to help in certain situations. So that manifestation was conjured up to fight the oppressors, which then scared the heck out of them. And then, so I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sankofa by
Oh,
Jamina.
I didn't see.
No. I
So
haven't.
there's a scene in there where the white slave master is whipping a pregnant woman, and they would put your hands up here. I mean, it was a really powerful documentary movie
Mm-hmm.
in the 90s that came out. It was the Wakanda of that day. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw it twice in Harlem, and then I came back to California and I saw it here. And I'll come back to the story, but the movie theaters would not show that film. And Holly Jamina went out and independently showed it independently, and it had standing room only, long lines to see it. It was very powerful. But there's one scene where white slave masters whipping the pregnant woman, and her belly's here, and everyone's standing around because they have the guards or I can't the people who are keeping everyone under control with white rifles. You get shot if you'll try to help. And so the two elder women, one from Africa and one who has been here for a while, then start conjuring the energy of the voodoo, Alegba, and through that power, uh, it stopped. He stopped. He got scared and he stopped. And I think he died. He keeled over and he died.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And so they went and they cut open her belly and they took out the baby.
Mm.
It's a really powerful movie, Sankofa.
Yeah, I've actually seen it like on that it was on YouTube, but I couldn't get the full film. Yeah, so
Hmm.
mm,
Hmm.
look,
Yeah, we'll have to look for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, and I mean, actually, it's so interesting that we're headed to Benin in April. Yeah, to check out some things there. So,
Nice.
Dahomey is one of the places we're going.
right,
Oh, all right.
right. Mm. And so we're supposed to be afraid of voodoo, and then yet so much of this kind of torture and killing and murder and was sanctioned by Catholicism.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's benevolent, and yeah, we're not supposed to worry about that.
Right.
Yeah, I could take us off in a different direction, so I won't do that anymore. Okay.
I can go there with you too.
Yeah. Well, this has been just really interesting. And love to go down the list. And I know actually my audience would love to know about, the common cold. What
Okay.
what would treat that? I mean, the symptoms of
So what I do at the first onset or sight, or even if I think that something's getting on me, they say, if I think something's coming on me, what folks would do is that they would have their yellow root. And if you've ever seen golden seal yellow root, if you've ever picked it, the color is iridescent yellow. Almost, it's more bright than this. It's like this color yellow here.
Like gold.
Yes.
Mhm.
And they would chop up the root, they'd wash it off, chop it up. You don't have to dry it out. Put it in a mason jar, about that much in the mason jar, and then just pour some warm water over it and let it sit, and the yellow will come out in it. And then they just sip on that, you know. And I've done it. I mean, I've done it before. It's worked. Or either you can get the golden seal tinctures today, and I just, do a couple of drops and go back with some water. Um, Mullein is excellent. I have a whole immune booster concoction or tonic for fending off, I call them freedom fighters for colds and COVID. You know, I have not been vaccinated, and I teach in elementary school,
Oh, wow.
and I have not caught COVID.
Wow.
I had to test. I had to test each week, which was the requirement. So I did that weekly for the entire time. And and I know my body now, and I'm in elementary school. I teach art in elementary school in East Oakland. And so I can tell um, how my body's feeling and if I need to get something out of me. So I stay well um, immuned up every day. I get my freedom fighters every day. Zinc.
Mm-hmm.
I got this. I got this just from doing a lot of research, and I get very anal with doing research. So I zinc, elderberry.
elderberry.
Um,
What about
there's a
echinacea?
huh?
What about echinacea?
Echinacea is good also, but I sometimes, echinacea is a little for my system. I do it on a regular basis. I do an echinacea tea almost every morning before I go to work, along with some ginger slices, fresh ginger. I'll share what my routine is. And so I'll do I have an echinacea power tea, fresh ginger. Crack it first to release the medicine, put some slices in a big tea mug, and then I pour hot water, over that with honey. Sometimes I do a little lemon, and then I just sip on that, every day. Sometimes I'll drop some elderberry or mullein in there if I'm feeling more congested, because mullein is excellent for congestion and bronchitis and pneumonia. Mullein is right here. And the mullein plant, are you familiar with the mullein plant?
No.
It's big, beautiful, wide leaves. I don't have it here, and right now is not the season. If I had a screen share, I could have pulled it up, but and it's a light green color and big, soft, wide leaves. And it was used as toilet paper also back in the day.
Oh my God.
It's called cowboy toilet tissue.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And it's another one of those weeds that people like to pull up, that I'm trying to tell them, this is good medicine. Okay, so this isn't a very good picture, but if you can pull it up on your computer, you can't even see it right here, but it's on page 288.
Okay.
Yeah, in the book.
All right, we'll look that up.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. I can see what you
Respiratory
put.
ailments, colds, congestions, inflammation, arthritis, rheumatism.
Mhm.
Okay, so Mullein.
IN, right.
Okay.
And also I take I'll take about 500 milligrams of vitamin C at the onset, until it's gone. I you got to find your right dosage with that, because if you do too much, then you can get skin conditions, and then you got to let that get out of your system. I've been there. I have been there and having to get that. So this is how it's worked for me, right? So if you get too much of the vitamin C and acidity, then your system goes in a whole other direction.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And so I do flax oil every day. That's a standard. The flax oil is 1,000 milligrams of omega threes, which is like the cod liver oil.
Mhm.
I also take adaptogens daily. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
oh, I don't.
Okay,
Okay.
adaptogens are herbs that help you mitigate the effects of stress and for your body to push it back, because stress and stressful conditions and other things can bring on other ailments,
Mhm.
which we've all been there also.
Sure.
So my three favorite adaptogens are gotu kola, ashwagandha,
no, that one.
and rhodiola. And
What's
I've taken rhodiola, rhodiola.
okay, thank you.
And rhodiola is very powerful. I've taken all of them. Rhodiola, it grows in Siberia. It's a plant that flowers in Siberia. So think about the energy that it takes to flower in Siberia,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And Russian astronauts and cosmonauts, take it. And then during the really, really cold season, people take it because it fortifies them.
Mhm.
Now, I took rhodiola, and so it's not in my, it's not a part of my DNA. And also it's a different environment here. So I took it for too long, and then I had to pull back, from it. And sometimes you don't know what your dosage is until you go a little too far over. And
Mhm.
then you have to figure out, okay, well, what is it that I'm taking now or differently than I didn't take, a little while ago?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'll take rhodiola during certain times for a short period of time. My go-to um, herbal adaptogen every day is gotu kola, Gotukola.
Okay.
And then my really chill adaptogen, when I don't have to like go teach and take care of my mother and do all these other things, the really chill one that helps me go to sleep is ashwagandha. You
Ashwagandha.
know, and I took that, and I took too much, had a great night's sleep, but then I had to get up at 6 o'clock.
Oh,
And I was dragging the whole day. And I said, okay. And I was able to make that relationship because I had been taking it for a while. I said, okay, well, I'll take this when, I need to chill.
man.
So, but that's important. It's all of it together is important.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now, also and this comes out over, I think, in Europe and other places also, taking vitamin D is important for anti-COVID.
Mhm.
Vitamin D. Hmm.
Vitamin D, flax, zinc, vitamin C. Um, so that's just like regular maintenance. And then for if I feel like something's coming on me that I maybe COVID like or not, I don't know. Or there's a lot of people at my school who are getting sick and might have tested positive for COVID. I found this recipe, which I've taken a couple of times. from and it's traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine, astragalus. Take astragalus. I got a bunch of astragalus here
Mm-hmm.
with thyme, and thyme has so many wonderful antiviral, antibiotic, you know, anti-get the mucus out of your system properties.
Mm-hmm.
Mullein, I throw the mullein in there because it's same. Uh, a pinch of ginseng,
Ah,
and then a little eucalyptus. And then I stew it down in a clay pot for about 30 minutes, and then I just let it go to room temperature.
okay. A clay pot. Why is that?
Um, because it's also leaching from the minerals of the clay pot. It's not taking on any of the energy from aluminum or, metal or anything like that. It holds the composition of the medicines together better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I see. And do you have a meditation or a prayer that you use or something, or that you would like to share, or that you just want to say yes that you do, which is fine too.
It changes. I'm talking to them all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so not I don't have I used to do like the more routine things. Um, I just say I'm thankful for this day, creator, divine energy, ancestors, Orishas, angel spirit guides, teachers, all of those energies that are around me, come with me through this day. And depending on the situation, I'll do other things. Like I've been burning candles and making prayers for Leon
Mm-hmm.
so he can have a safe journey and he can transition from his journey here to the next. And so that has been going on for a few days with mini altar with our ancestors, you know, um, and water. It's very important. Water. This is what I do. It's not like I don't like sectioning off my day anymore and saying, now I'm going to do this prayer every day. I used to exercise a lot. I used to run 3 miles a day and, just stay in
Mm-hmm.
shape. And I don't like sectioning off my time to exercise anymore. I want to incorporate it all in my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, what I do now is I just incorporate the prayers through my movement,
Oh,
at the time that I need it.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel I need to go into a deeper meditation because something's going on, then I know how to do that. I started meditating in the 70s when
oh,
transcendental meditation came out. Transcendental meditation, remember that?
I
And
remember
I
that. Yes.
initiated at the TM Center in Los Angeles on the corner of La Cienega and San Vicente.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And then I was living in LA at the time, and then I'd go out to Zuma Beach, which I don't know if it's there anymore because of all the erosion, which was right next to Malibu, which was the nude beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go out there. I was in my early 20s, and I'd go out there and sit on the cliff or on the beach and I do my meditation and, really journeying there with the Bhagavad Gita and astral traveling and, all of those um, wonderful um, messages and life spiritual lessons.
oh,
So I just kind of incorporate everything now. Sometimes I have indigenous shakers, I have African drums, I have the kalimba, I have tobacco, tobacco that was grown ceremony for ceremony that was given to me. I keep a lot of tobacco. I
wow.
have I have sage always. I
Yeah.
have Palo Santo. I have lavender that I burn.
Mm-hmm.
Frankincense
Oh, yeah.
that I burn. I have oils. Um, I just like try to move organically and authentically and instinctively, just like, okay, this is what I want to put on today. Some
Mm-hmm.
patchouli with some frankincense.
Oh, wow. So,
Or like okay, I'm going to burn, today's the day I'm going to burn some lavender,
Mhm.
so I might burn lavender for the whole day. One thing that I do, I go up to one of the parks here and I get bay leaf. And this is an indigenous tradition which was given to me by an aunt who's now deceased, is that you would take the bay leaf, you get like cut a branch and you always ask permission and you give thanks for this medicine. And you could either put the leaves on the windowsills, which takes work, and time, or you could just, I take the whole branch and I'll just hang it from the windowsill, or I put it at a place in my house so it's just hanging down. So it absorbs the negativity,
Mm.
and it's also antiviral and antibacterial.
Mhm.
And when it gets parched and dried up, you throw it out and then you bring a new one there. And
Mhm.
it makes the air smell good.
Wow,
Oh,
that's amazing.
hey.
It's
And
amazing.
I also pick rosemary, as I see it around.
Mhm.
And as I and which is calms your spirit also. And I often, when I go to school with all of the, elementary school energy, those ones, they have such great love. I put two rosemaries right up here. I usually wear my head wrapped.
Mhm.
And so I can smell that.
Mhm.
Calms me, and they start putting it in their hair. The end of the day, I take the rosemary, I put it under my pillow at night because it helps to me to sleep and the dreams to be clear and good and messages to come in.
Wow, I hadn't heard about that. And I mean, is this kind of information in the book, or is this the stuff that you do, or?
Yeah, this is the bay leaf information is in book. I think the rosemary, I don't know if that's in the book, because the understanding of how to proceed today isn't evolving. It's
Mhm.
evolutionary.
Mhm.
And I love getting techniques from other people.
Mhm.
Like I have different positions and places in my house where I put a crystal and water, and I just make sure that it's filled so that it gives clarity and it kind of grounds the energy. And then I have different stones that I put on top of routers and modems to ground that energy,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that I wear. In my mother's room, I have a bowl of water underneath her bed with a crystal and water because, I feel sometimes being a caretaker can be exhaustive. And I
Yes.
feel sometimes that she's pulling my energy to
Mhm.
help her to live. I don't think she's doing it intentionally, but and so that helps to ground her and to ground her.
Mhm.
So is it the crystal in the water, or is it
Crystals in the water.
in the water? Okay.
That's amazing.
Wow, that is. Yeah, yeah, but that energy and the vibration and all of that, and you're right that it could
It's all energy, like copper pennies. Copper is a great conductor of
Mhm.
energy. I use copper in different um things that I need to do. I mean, I stuff goes on. You gotta like pull from all your resources.
That's true.
yeah,
That's very true.
right. Oh, well, Michelle, this has been absolutely amazing. I mean, like I said, that when I saw and was reading through the book, I was just floored. But just talking to you, I'm just very just uplifted and has learned so much too. And you're so generous, with your time and expertise and I mean, what I don't even call it a project, but what a journey you've been on.
Yeah, life journey. A life,
I've
for us.
done.
It's
Yeah.
for it's for you. It's for Mel. It's for your ancestors, for our ascendants moving forward and everyone that we come around. I thank you. I price the book at a price where everybody can afford it.
Oh,
You know,
great.
um, here in the States, it's $20 to $25.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very affordable, and I mean, it's so nice to think about that too. Yeah,
And
because
I give a lot away too. I recently did something at Mills College, and I had books that I just give away because it's not my information. I feel it's for everybody.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
would love to come to Brussels.
We would love to host you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, the information is so valuable. I see your book is a reference and um a go-to when I need, a little, nudge or push or help, Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, and you can reach out to me too.
Will do.
You know,
Yeah.
we can have the personal one-on-one conversation.
Will do.
Absolutely. I mean, I was thinking, I see the book as kind of a companion, actually. It's like, oh, yeah, I need a little support here, and yeah, I know that my answers are here, and but I
Right.
really appreciate, yeah, being able to reach out to you too, and I'm going to do that too about this migraine thing. So,
Okay, great, great. We'll see if we can rectify that.
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, again, Asante Sana, really, and I really appreciate everything you've done for us and what you are doing for all of us here.
All of us. Right.
You. I appreciate you all. You're so beautiful. And I look forward, hopefully, we can see each other and embrace in person.
I look forward to that. I was born and raised in Oakland, so I get back.
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Oh yeah,
And
she was born and raised in Oakland. Yeah.
and Mel, where were you born and raised?
Well, Houston, Texas.
Okay, Texas.
Yeah. But I got smart and I went to the Bay Area. Yeah. And that's where she was born. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Houston has its advantages but I spent a lot of time in Austin because I went to the university there.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful.
So, Michelle, thank you very, very much. And
You're welcome.
yeah, and my heart goes out to you about your loss from yesterday, actually on the solstice, on the equinox.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. I know he's in his energies in spirit.
Yes,
No
yes,
Yeah,
question.
I absolutely believe that. Yes,
So
and
do I.
yeah, but still, grief is real though too. So.
it is. It is.
Okay, so I'll be in touch and yeah, I look forward to talking with you soon. And thank you again.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Great. This has been great.
It
Have
has been wonderful. Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. Bye for now. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
This ends today's discussion about traditional African American healing. Jumbo community, it's Alma Robin again. I hope that you enjoyed this uncommon conversation. I definitely did. So, a big Asante Sana to Michelle Lee for generously sharing her time and expertise with us. Many people have asked me, is traditional healing really a thing? My answer is always, absolutely. White Western society and Big Pharma have tried to make us forget about the traditional healing rituals and medicines from plants and herbs that we use to stay healthy. And if we got sick, we would use them to get healthy again. They tried to make it seem like it's something savage or to make it seem inferior to allopathic medicine. Now, allopathic, that's just a very fancy word for Western medicine. But traditional medicines worked, and they still work. Community supported us. Spirituality and prayer were also important parts of the health and healing process. Michelle Lee made this very clear and showed us how it can be very doable. She discussed how she lights candles, takes walks in nature, and meditates. Elder Mel, she was fantastic on the show, so a big Asante Sana to her. Elder Mel discussed how, as a child, she had to take cod liver oil every single day. She didn't like it, but guess what? It kept her healthy. And she also gave this medicine called aspidity to her daughter for stomach problems when the doctors couldn't stop her daughter's stomach pain. And that aspidity cured her problem immediately. It didn't just stop the pain, it cured her. Michelle Lee also pointed out how traditional African religions like Ifa and Voodoo have powerful rituals, yet they, like Voodoo, have been nearly demonized by the Catholic Church. Michelle taught us so many different ways to stay healthy and stay connected. But for me, and this is me, the most important lesson was that we are a resilient people. Black people are so resilient. We have been persecuted and attacked for hundreds of years, but we're still here, and our rituals and beliefs are still with us. The ancestors are still with us, and I absolutely feel that. I hope that comes through to you too. But we cannot take it for granted. The forces of white supremacy are constantly attacking us and trying to destroy this knowledge. If we don't protect it and value it, we could lose it forever. So we need to hold it close and honor this knowledge. I would love to hear your thoughts about it too. So please, send your messages. Please share them. Let me know how you use traditional healing methods, or if you believe in them or you completely don't. Remember, everything's on the table here. So please share whatever feelings you want to about this. Asante Sana again to Michelle Lee for participating on our Black Empowerment Podcast show and for her commitment to keeping this knowledge alive for us, our children, and our children's children, and beyond. I highly recommend getting and reading her book, Working the Roots, Over 400 Years of Traditional African American Healing. This should be a reference resource in every Black American home. You can find it on our website, espressotalktoday.com, or wherever you purchase your books. But please, it's on our website. You can get it there. And it's not just an Amazon store. This bookstore that we have helps to support other independent bookstores and independent authors. So, Asante Sana to you. I never forget my dear audience for showing up and staying with us. We really appreciate you and your presence and your continued support. You really are the reason that we do what we do every single day. You can join us every day to discuss these issues on Instagram at AmaRobinL. Check out my profile. Leave your questions, comments, reflections, and just anything that you want to say. I want to hear from you, and I'm absolutely here for you. If you think other people would be interested in this Black Empowerment Podcast show, then please send it to them by all means. We got to start talking about these issues and this knowledge, and we got to keep talking about them. And if you want to keep discussing them or just reading about these issues, and I really hope you do, then you should definitely subscribe to our weekly newsletter, The Nomo Beat. We discuss lots of different issues there. You can get your dose of Black empowerment every week. There's never a dull moment, but I promise there are lots of growth moments. You can subscribe at the Espresso Talk Today website, espressotalktoday.com, or on Instagram at AmaRobinL. That's Ama_Robin_ and the letter L on my profile page. I'm Ama Robin for Espresso Talk Today, and remember, now more than ever, strength, soul, and reparations. Ashe, community.